Welcome back to Banksy Kitchen. Yeah, we're at it again. Now we're based out of La Bodega, which is a Dominican flavoured Latino restaurant in 12 Fitzroy Street, St Kilda. So anytime you'd like to pop down and see us, you're more than welcome. Check us on our website, labodega.com.au, and you'll see what we have to offer. But anyway, we're going to do our first video back, and it will be Alfajor, which is a classical Argentinian dessert. So let's get the ingredients together and we'll start the job. Okay, we've got our ingredients together. So what we need is 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of bicarb soda, which I've got there. We've got 500 grams of gluten-free flour, plain. We've got cocoa or cacao, whatever you've got, 200 grams. Sugar, we've got 300 grams. We've got 4 eggs. And we've got butter, 400 grams. And 1 orange. All right, we'll put all this together. We'll show you how it's done. All right, so we take our butter and we melt this in the microwave. So, I don't know, a minute or whatever it is. You just have to keep an eye on it, and then we add the sugar to it. So while that butter's melting, we can put our flour, our cocoa or cacao, whichever you've got, our baking soda or baking powder and bicarb soda, and just give that a bit of a mix. If you don't have this equipment, you can get your nice stainless steel bowls, whisk, microplane. You can get everything from Gemini Catering Equipment in Lynbrook. They're really helpful. Any of that catering type equipment you need, just give them a buzz. Okay, that butter took almost 2 minutes to melt, so now I'm going to put the sugar into the butter. You don't want it boiling hot, you just want to have it so it's melted, because we need to add eggs to this, and if the butter's boiling hot, the eggs are going to cook, so that's not ideal. So we're just stirring the sugar in. Just let it dissolve a little. You don't have to be that fussy. Eggs. So just drop the eggs in. And I use farm fresh eggs as well, so you just don't know how fresh they are when you're at the supermarket, so I go to the market to get them from the farm. All right, we're mixing in the egg. So you can see that's quite well mixed. Then what we do is we add it to the flour mix. This is quite straightforward. There's nothing tricky about it. But it's a really good recipe. And we just mix this in gently. You don't need to use a mixer. It's quite okay just using a wooden spoon. It's going to get messy later because we're going to use our hands. The other thing is you may need to add a little bit of flour to this if it's too wet, but I'll show you the consistency. But one other thing we need to put in is the zest of an orange, or 2, whatever. I just happen to have 1 available, so I'm going to just run that over the microplane. You don't want too much of the white stuff, which is the pith, just mainly the zest. Be careful of your fingers. Nothing like a grated finger. That's okay. We'll cut the orange in half. And we'll squeeze the juice in, or you don't want to waste it. Okay. So it gives it a little bit of a Jaffa type feel, I guess. Orange and chocolate. So what we're going to make, the Alfajor, is like a sandwich. 2 cookies, shortbreads, whatever you want to call them, with dulce de leche in between, which in English is caramel. So, and we make that caramel ourselves. It's pretty straightforward. Condensed milk in a saucepan with water covered, and boil, bring it to the boil, and just keep adding water to it so it's always covered, and it takes about 3 hours. So normally I just put a lid on it and forget about it. Once the 3 hours has passed, then what you do is you put the cans in the fridge and just leave them there till you need them. So obviously they're not opened. All right, now this is where it could get a little messy. So we're going to need this. Okay, so we're going to just work this up a little bit. You notice there's a few lumps of cocoa in the mix. That's because I didn't sieve it. Ideally you want to sieve the cocoa first because it can be a bit lumpy. So now I've got to go to the effort of a little bit of eggshell. Got to go to the effort of getting these lumps out, which if I had have sifted it, I wouldn't have had that issue, but it's okay. All right, so this is ready now. You notice I've got food gloves on. It's just, we're not using gardening gloves. It's just so that it's easier to handle. Now you notice it's got a real greasy feel about it. That's because there's so much butter in it. So we take some paper, some baking paper, not greaseproof, baking paper, and we put one there. See if I can get that a bit closer to the camera so you can see clearer. So put that on there, another one on top, and you just roll. So just get your favourite rolling pin and roll from the middle out, from the middle out. Don't do this because it's not doing anything, it's not spreading the dough. So we're rolling from the middle out. And a little pressure, not lots. And you want to make sure that, see I'm lower there, so you want to make sure that it's fairly even. Okay, the way to check, just lift it up and you can see that, probably can't see that, but it's a couple of mil thick, say, I don't know, 3 or 4 mil thick, just like a biscuit. Okay, then we take that off, we slide it onto a tray and pop it in the fridge. Like that, because it's easy to cut when it's cool. Okay, so I've rolled all these out. I've rolled them all while you're away, and now I'm going to show you how I do with the cutting. So we take it off the tray, and we're going to use this tray, and I just use an orange cutter. So I don't know, whatever size you like, but that's the size I like. And to maximise your pastry, go right to the edges. Don't just start in the middle and just work your way around. And we're not going to throw this away. We're going to use the whatever's left over to make more. So you don't have to be too fussy. Okay, so just slowly peel that off. Drop it on it. Don't need to grease these because there's a lot of butter in this recipe. And if some are thinner than others, don't worry, it's not a major thing. It's just, they don't have to be all exactly the same. I normally try and get 3 across on these trays. You'll have a different tray at home, obviously. And if you break one, doesn't matter. Just mix it up and roll it again. So, and remembering that everything we do is gluten-free. So you can use normal flour if you like, but I'm celiac, and La Bodega restaurant is 100% gluten-free, so we don't have any gluten on the premises. So now with this one, we just make it into a ball, save it to the side, because we're going to have more. I've got about 4 of these trays to do. So once I've cut them all, I'll get back to you. Okay, after I rolled all the scraps back up and continued rolling, that's all I was left with, a tiny little bit. So that's pretty good. I've ended up with about 60 pieces, so 50 pieces, something like that. So obviously your quantities you can make less. The beauty of these, you can freeze them. So we're going to bake them in the oven now, 175 degrees, preheated oven, for 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, take them out. If you think they're not quite cooked, they probably are, because anything that's gluten-free, you don't want to cook it to overcook it because it becomes very dry. So 8 minutes, that's normally about the time it takes. Once they're cooked, we take them out of the oven to cool, and then I'm going to put them in the freezer because I want them frozen to do the next stage. Alrighty, so they've come out of the oven now. They're cooked, and I'm going to put them into the fridge and then the freezer, where you can cool them down. Just adjust this so you can see me. Yeah, so I'm going to cool them down, then I'll pop them in the freezer, and this is the end of stage 1. So what we'll do in the next video is we'll show you how to put the caramel in, but it's very important these are frozen when you're putting that in because they're not going to crack. So once they're frozen, they're rock solid. You don't have to be so gentle with the caramel, and we continue on from there. Okay, we'll see you in the next video.